Welcome to the Therapeutic Brother, a visual podcast on all things mental health. I am your host, Eric M. Burns, licensed marriage and family therapist with over 15 years of providing therapeutic services, education, and resources. First of all, I want to thank you all so much for those of you that tuned in to our first podcast a couple of weeks ago. We have received numerous emails, comments, just overall positive feedback, and we really appreciate it. This podcast is designed to keep the dialogue going about mental health in the Black community. Getting into mental health years ago, it's my passion to provide quality mental health services and to provide representation for my people. What the podcast is not. This podcast is not designed to take the place of therapy. So if you feel that you need therapy, I encourage you to reach out to a licensed mental health professional or a board certified intern in your area. Now, sometimes the discussions on the Therapeutic Brother might cause you to get triggered. If that's the case, I encourage you to call 911, go to the nearest emergency department, or call the National Suicide Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. Providing mental health services has long been my passion. And one part of mental health services and providing therapy is couples counseling. I do firmly believe that healthy couples create healthy communities. And I'm very proud to have on the show today a wonderful couples counselor, a wonderful couples therapist with over 7 years of providing couples counseling, with over 10 years of providing just mental health resources in her community. My guest on the Therapeutic Brother has over 7 years of providing therapy to couples, sexual intimacy issues, alternative kink lifestyle issues, all of those things. I welcome to the Therapeutic Brother none other than Marjha Hunt, licensed marriage and family therapist. Marjha, how you doing?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on this episode of the Therapeutic Brother. I know that you have a lot of passion with what you do, a lot of commitment to what you do. Did I leave anything out in the introduction?
No, I think you covered the important parts, right? And activists in the community, providing mental health to just supporting Black love of self, love of others, for partnerships, for couples, all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Now, Marjha, when we first talked about you being on the show, the one thing I wanted you to talk about was your experience providing couples therapy. For those individuals that might be considering couples therapy, what would be the benefits for them?
I think there's a lot of benefits. For starters, I think it strengthens the bond between couples. So a lot of folks have the belief that I only need to seek out therapy, or I only should seek out counseling if we're struggling, and that's just not the case. For a lot of folks, it strengthens the bond. It allows you the safe space to be able to explore your partner more in your relationship. All types of relationships, not just couples or folks that are married, but folks that are looking to enter into relationships, right? To be able to become the best version of yourself, and to be able to love yourself to a higher power, right? Which would enable you to also provide that love to your partner or partners.
Absolutely. You mentioned a safe space. Can you talk a little bit more about why couples therapy should be a safe space?
Yeah, I think why it should be a safe space is because if it's not a safe space, then we don't feel we don't give ourselves permission to be authentic, right? If I'm navigating an unsafe space, then there's so many filters and masks that I have to put on. So it's really hard to be honest with yourself and with other people if you feel like you're not in a space that's safe. So that's why I feel like it's important to be able to do the work, to healing, to loving more, yourself, your partners. That's why I feel like the safe space is important.
Absolutely. And if a couple had gotten to the point, well, first of all, let me ask this. When should couples decide to enter couples therapy?
So I feel like any time is a good time, right? Some of the I'm a little bit biased, right? Some of those times could be looking towards taking your relationship to the next level, right? Maybe you are, I'll start from the beginning. If you are looking to, hey, I want to get into the dating scene, right? And right now I'm seeing a few folks and I just want to be a better person overall. Great time to do that. You're in a relationship with someone and you all haven't decided to fully commit yet, right? And maybe there's some things that you just want to strengthen or grow with your partner with. That would be a great sign. Definitely, if your relationship is entering any challenges or any roadblocks where you're thinking, I don't feel heard, I don't feel understood, I don't feel seen, I don't feel appreciated, that's definitely a good time to talk to your partner about, hey, maybe we should try therapy, right? To create that safe space to be able to work through some of these things with a neutral person.
Okay. Now I know that in my private practice, ever since COVID hit, couples have been struggling. What's been your experience working with couples over the course of this pandemic?
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen both sides of the spectrum, right? The pandemic allowed us to appreciate relationships more and spend more time with those loved ones and grow closer. But what it also did is it kind of put a mirror up on relationships, right? So we're spending more time with this person. We're seeing little things. And in the beginning, for a lot of folks, it was great, right? Now we have time that we didn't have before. And time is one of the most crucial things in a relationship that often drives a wedge between folks and creates, situations for divorce. And so in the beginning, that time was great. And then what at least what I started to see is folks began noticing, like, there's more and more things that I'm seeing that I'm kind of struggling with, right? Not having been around the person that much in this aspect, right? With the other external pressures of the pandemic, folks weren't used to navigating these struggles that were coming up, right? Now we got to share space in a different way. And now we're both working, but we're in the same space. And now we're both with it, right? The kids are at home. We don't have that privacy that maybe, we was able to catch a lunchtime quickie or something like that. And just the space, that space may not be there.
Yes.
So, with the external pressures, it just, it created different challenges that folks weren't used to navigating.
Yeah, the lunchtime quickie, I like that one. I also like the fact that what you said, now people are like around each other. A lot of people working from home and I know, and I might get into a lot of trouble when I say this, but we're missing our work wives and our work husbands, right? When we're working from home. And so, we don't have that person bringing us the Starbucks coffee anymore, right? We don't have that person, I'm running the Panda Express. What do you want me to get you, right? So now it's like we're sitting at home with this person all day long. And it does create, some tension, right? How would you help a couple navigate those types of things where we go from, hey, I'm going to work every day. I got this work husband, I got this work wife, and now all of a sudden I'm right back at home with my real wife, my real husband, and hey, your feet stink, right? How are you helping couples navigate that?
So I think with partnerships, the beginning of any, no matter what stage you're in and what challenge you are faced with, is remembering the love story, right? What connected you and brought you to this person from day one? Y'all are on the same team. And I think remembering that you are teammates, right? And you are not playing against each other is sort of the foundation, right, to starting this work. Because the minute, those challenges arise, those intense emotions, then you begin thinking of self, right? I'm playing on a team by myself and I have to fight against this person. And so I think just solidifying that love story that was once created, if that's the goal, right? But sometimes that's not always the goal. Let me make that very clear. Sometimes folks come into therapy and the goal is not to strengthen and continue an intimate relationship with this person.
Right.
But for those folks that it is, I think starting there, at least for me and the way that I practice, is very important. And then going into healthy ways to communicate, right? Sometimes folks will jump right into the problem, right? What's the problem and how do we fix it? And for me, knowing that I can communicate with you in a healthy way just sets it up so that any challenge we are getting ready to face outside of the therapy session, as well as inside, we already have the tools to be able to navigate that and communicate in the healthiest way. So that's always where I start, is building that love story, reminding them of their connection to each other, right? The strengths that they have with each other that have gotten them as far as they've gotten, and then solidifying that healthy communication patterns.
I like that. Remembering the love story, because we got together for a reason, right? There was something that brought us together. And a lot of times when we have when relationships, you've been in this thing, however long, we do tend to forget that love story, right? We do tend to forget that love story. And I think reminding us of that love story is really, really important. Now you also said that there's sometimes when people come to therapy where they don't want to really work out their love story. They could care less about the love story. How do you deal with couples like that?
I think a question that I'm always asked is, what's the success rate, right? Well, that depends on how you define success, right?
Yes.
To me, success is defined by being able to meet the goals that you set out to meet. And that's not always staying together, staying married, right? So when sometimes a relationship comes in and one person already has their foot out the door, right? And sometimes both folks have their foot out the door, but for whatever reason, they feel like we need to be able to do this amicably, right? Most of the time, it's a connection in finances, a connection in business, or children that they share responsibility with. And so when that happens, we not necessarily focus on the love story, but we focus on the friendship that was built and created. And we look at what their goals are moving forward and being able to navigate their relationship, no longer as intimate partners, right? But as co-parents, right? Or as friends. And so you're still looking at those strengths, right? Why are you a great parent, right? Why are you a great friend? Maybe the intimacy part just didn't work out. And so looking at what those goals are and being able to set those healthy boundaries, because as we know, right, in the moment, I might be over you. And then, I get vulnerable in a week or two and I'm just thinking, I'd like for you to meet some of my needs.
Right.
And then, that emotional, then your emotions are all over the place and then you're back at square one. So just learning how to navigate the relationship from a different place, right? Not that you have to hate this person, but we can still coexist. We can still co-parent. We can still be in friendship with each other without it being toxic.
Absolutely. And sometimes we, when I work with couples, a lot of times some of the same things come up, right? It's like, okay, you don't want this to work, so how can we figure this out? And then they'll call me a couple of weeks later and be like, I backslid. Bro, what you talking about? She called me last night. I went over. She had on my favorite negligee. She had the strawberries with the chocolate and the whipped cream. And I'm back. We getting married again, E. We getting married again. And when you have those moments and you have those couples that have, went back or backslid, what do you tell them?
Honestly, I'm a very collaborative therapist, and I believe in grace and trust. We are all human, including us therapists, right?
Yes.
I've been there before. Just because I'm a therapist don't mean that I haven't given into temptation or wanted to give into temptation, right? So first and foremost, I come from a place of understanding. I get it. There isn't the expectation that you are going to be perfect and not human, right?
Right.
What do you want it to look like moving forward, right? Did y'all reconcile and you ready to, enter into this thing again? Great. Let's all get on the same page and look at how that can work moving forward, right? What sort of things hijacked the relationship before? If it's a thing where I backslid and I want to get back, this isn't what I want, right? It was a moment of, me being human and giving into, these feelings and things like that. Okay, how do we set up healthy boundaries so that when you feel like there's needs that you need to be met outside of yourself, right? How can you connect to those things without going back, right? So there's always, regardless of what the goal is, we're able to approach it. It's not, oh, you done did it now. You done messed up and it's over. It's not that at all.
You ever, I was working with this couple down in Las Vegas. I'm not going to describe too much stuff because if I did, they'd probably know.
And you know what happens in Vegas?
Hey, look, what happens in Vegas, you're going to need medication for. You understand?
Right? Vegas stories.
Listen, that's why our brother is back in Northern California. So, but to all my Vegas folks, I love y'all. And I'll see you soon. But anyway, so I was working with this couple, and kind of like what you said, my first question to them was, what are we here to do? Are we here to make this thing work? Are we here to break up? What are we here to do? And one partner said, well, of course I'm here to work it out. Well, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't here to work it out. And the other partner said, I'm here to break up. And that whole, and I was like, okay, now I know what I'm working with. So then I went back, kind of did what you did. Well, okay, let's go back. Do you remember what this person had on when you first saw him? Do you remember I tried to throw that person a bone to bring that person to move the meter a little bit, right? And it just wasn't working. And that was and it was successful for one partner, and it wasn't successful for the other partner, right? And again, though, having that safe space to speak your truth, because if we're not here to work, if one person's not here to work it out and the other person is, doesn't mean that it can't get fixed, right? We could still start remembering the love story, and then that way, maybe that person who has their foot out the door is like, you know what, let me give this a little bit more thought, right? What are some things that couples should look for in a couples therapist?
Before we get to that, I want to go back to what you said, because I think, if that's cool,
come on, Queen, you know how we do this,
right? So another thing that I think is important, because a lot of times throughout the therapeutic, the work that we're doing, the couple will ebb and flow, right? I might have a couple that one week is like, yeah, we're in this, we're doing the work. And the next week they're like, we decided we're getting a divorce, right? So what do? Do you say, okay, the divorce is done and over? That's when we go back to kind of those core beliefs, right? Because what folks think might be a deal breaker may not be a deal breaker. Yeah. So exploring what are my core beliefs and values, and how do those align with your core beliefs and values, right? Or is it you did something, you showed some bad behavior, right? And I'm in my feelings about it and I'm ready to walk away, right? So looking at what does that work look like, and how do our core beliefs align? I think including that is a huge, important part of the process to make sure that they stay on the same page, or to get them back on the same page.
Absolutely.
So going to what should folks look for when they're searching for a therapist? First and foremost, for me, energy is so important. Every therapist is not for everybody, right? Yes. Experiences, we have different backgrounds, we have different ways that we see and view the world. And if that doesn't align with your way, then we may not mesh, right? And that's okay. I think because of the difference in power, right? I think there's this idea that whoever I'm seeing is supposed to be right for me, right? And I can't step out and say something if I'm not vibing with something that they're asking me, or if I'm not vibing with a goal that they think that I should work on. And so I think, however, how you feel when you're meeting with that therapist, right? Are you feeling like, okay, I can see myself talking to this person? Or is it like, they just asked me that question, or they just misgendered me, or they just assumed that I'm dating, this gender? If you have any of those feelings, right, it's okay to shop around. And I think that's the number one message. Like, I'm all for, if you not feeling me during our consult, let me refer you to other folks that I also believe do great work, but maybe just have a different personality than me, right? So I think first and foremost is energy. I think, are you looking for somebody to tell you, right, this is what I see as the problem and this is what you need to do, right? Because there's therapists that will take kind of an expert approach, right? And see what's going on and diagnose it. And neither are right or wrong. I just want to put that out there, right? So they see what's going on and they say, this is what you all need to do, right? Are you looking for, does what meshes well with your personality? Someone that will say, what are your goals? Here's what I see. Let's come up with goals together. And hey, I think this would help. What do you think about that? Right? So that's more of the collaborative approach. And different cultures appreciate different cultures, and different folks appreciate different approaches. So if you're looking for someone to tell you, hey, this is what I see, this is what you need to do, then maybe asking, hey, what's your approach? Do you take an expert approach? Do you take a collaborative approach? And so, starting with that, if you know that you are going to want homework, right? Stuff to work on at home practice, asking about that. Also, especially for the Black community, right? Because my passion is love, right? But when you look at Black love in the Black community, I know for me growing up, I don't feel comfortable talking to somebody that I don't know.
Right? Say that, girl. Say that.
Right? So, I mean, when therapy started, it was very taboo for therapists to share anything about themselves. And for me, that would make it very hard. You want me to open up and tell you all my personal business?
Right. Yeah. And you know what? I like how you said that, man, that, I like I said that, Marjha, that as Black people, we don't talk to everybody, right? And I think that's the overall thing when you're looking for a therapist. And like you said, someone you can connect to, someone that you can vibe with, and energy. Energy is very, 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 very important. Listen, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to bring you back because here's the thing. I read your bio. And you do a lot of sex work. So I would like to have you back to maybe talk about how, sex could enhance mental health as well as relationships. I want to bring you back to talk.
There's so much more.
Yeah, I want to bring you back, Queen, to talk about how sex can improve our mental health. All right, so listen. I really want to thank you so much for being on the show today. How can people reach you?
So right now I am doing a lot of couples work. I am part of Counseling Collaborative, which is a counseling / therapy place out here in Sacramento. They can check out my profile. It's on counselingcollab.com.
Absolutely.
They can send me an email, which is marjha@counselingcollab.com. Marjha is spelled Marjha @counselingcollab.com. And that's how they can reach out if they are looking for partnership work, relationship work, couples work, premarital, all of those things.
Really appreciate it. That's Marjha@counselingcollab.com. Listen, Marjha, I really appreciate you being here. I know I'm going to be in touch with you soon. Thank you so much, my queen. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. And I'll talk to you soon because we're going to have you back to talk about how sex can improve our mental health. All right, Marjha. Take good care. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Therapeutic Brother podcast, a visual podcast on all things mental health. I'd like to thank Sivo Presents Production, Amazon Queen Productions, and Dreamhouse Productions. Also, there we go. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Formula 4 Oxygen Water, a water that's designed to replenish and restore. Formula 4 Oxygen Water, drink it. Your body will rejoice. You can reach us at thetherapeuticbrother@gmail.com. You can also hit us up at Sivo Presents Facebook page, the Therapeutic Brother Facebook page, and Duke Mitchell's Facebook page. We look forward to your feedback, your emails, your questions, your comments, and your suggestions on our next show. Thank you so much, and I look forward to talking to you again on our next episode of The Therapeutic Brother.